Joining me now is Joe Lockett, an Alabama radio host and a Republican. Joe, thanks so much for being with us today. Where do you think this race stands as you talk to voters and as your listeners call in? Is there any way to predict?
Andrea, thanks for having me. Well, thanks for having me on the show. Right now, what we're looking at is, when I listen to my listeners right now, when they're calling into the show, Andrea, right now, if Doug Jones, he hasn't done a really good job on the ground. And right now, the millennials are not really into Doug Jones. So right now, if Doug Jones doesn't take Birmingham, Alabama, or Huntsville, there's a good chance that Roy Moore may take this election.
And that really speaks to how he's reached out to the African-American community and how he's reached out to Republicans who might be potential crossover voters. What is the impact of someone, for instance, like Condoleezza Rice, an Alabama native? I know from talking to her for years, and in her book, she talked about how her father became a Republican because of the segregationist stance of Democrats in Jim Crow Alabama, and how she actually knew one of the children who was killed in the Birmingham bombing in 1963. So for her to come out and say, I encourage you to take a stand for our core principles and for what is right. These critical times require us to come together to reject bigotry, sexism, and intolerance. I know that Alabamans need an independent voice in Washington, but we must also insist that our representatives are dignified, decent, and respectful of the values we hold dear. She didn't come out and say vote for Doug Jones, but that's what she's saying.
Right. Well, I think, when I read that, Andrea, the thing what I thought about is we do have to vote our values. And right now, what I see, there's a small push. Anytime anybody gets on TV, their wife or anybody gets on TV and say, I have a black friend, that offends me. So at the end of the day, if I haven't seen you in my community, if I haven't seen you in the schools with my kids, don't sit here and tell me about what you have. My thing is to you, what have you not done in our community? And I think it's a day late and a dollar short to try to claim me now at the end of the day for this campaign, and I think it's despicable myself. And
the other thing that was really quite alarming to a lot of people last week was what the LA Times reported that Roy Moore said back in September. I think it was September 14th, when he said, in talking about Make America Great Again, and when asked what was so great about America back in the days of segregation and the rest, he said, I think it was great at the time when families were united. Even though we had slavery, they cared for one another. It just seemed like a clueless defense of slavery.
Exactly. Again, when you make statements like that and then you come back and you have your wife say the things that she said on national TV, it's a disgrace to our community. And even though I'm a Republican, and even though, I would love to vote for Roy Moore, and I know a lot of people would, at this point in time, we have to vote our values. And is it more important for us to vote about the political parties or do the right thing for what's right for the people, Andrea?
So what are you going to do in terms of your vote? You know
something? Right now, Andrea, I'm still up in the air, but I know I'm not voting for Doug Jones at this point in time right now. I don't know if I'm going to write in for Roy Moore at this point in time. I'm really not for sure. I will know in probably a couple of hours once I go vote.
All right. Well, stay tuned. We'll be listening. Thank you so much. Thanks for being with us, Joe Lockett.